Have they?
Give us a smoke.
Do you know what day it is today?
Sunday,
It is Sunday, but do you know the date
26th
of
February
and the year?
2017.
Right. However,
You know why I had to slow down? I thought maybe I've gone into Twilight Zone or something. I don't know.
well, I like to clarify for the future when people are looking back, like, what day was this? And it's 12:27 in the afternoon, and we are in Toogoom, Queensland, Australia. So we're ahead of most of you as far as time is in the rest of the world. But
10 hours ahead of England.
I wanted
London.
to say that Yah's rebirth day and hour, January the 11th, 1944 at 2:22 a.m. is literally the resetting of the calendar. That is his rebirth hour. So this is why he measures all time from that rebirth hour. He is all time. So if you wanted to write the date in the Day Domini, which means the day of the Lord in Latin, as Adam Yates and a few others have learned, today would be the 046, because it's 46 days past January the 11th, / in the year 073, DD, capital DD. Understand? So tomorrow is going to be 047 / 073 DD. And then by the time we get to Yah's birthday in 2018, in the Gregorian calendar, the 11th of January 2018, then the day will be 000. This is what the calendar has always been out, because the Catholics didn't count the year 0. You must count the year 0. So from the moment of his being born and he's 1 minute old, then that's in the year 000. He's 000 hours, 001 minutes in the year 00. So when he is 74, the day will be 000 in the year / this time 074 from the rebirth hour. So it's a little bit like the 2:22 a.m. becomes like the new midnight. That's when the new day starts, and counting from 2:22 a.m. in the old system. I can see that I've totally confused him and everybody else out there listening now, but you get my drift.
Well, the date has been changed many times. Well, you've got your various nations have their own dates, and even I think it was Saudi Arabia that just lined up with the Gregorian calendar.
Yes.
It's all to do with them as banking and cash, right? So there's all sorts of reasons for it. But really, time is set on when the Lord comes to do it.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
So this is the second Advent. In the first time around, he came as the Son, the Father resident within him, but known as the Son of God. Whereas the second Advent was always the Holy Ghost, the Father, the Comforter, who is the Lord himself, the great big kahuna. So this is the day of the Lord. We're in it once he's
The day of the kahuna.
And it's also the period of time known as the resurrection. Now, we were discussing a PowerPoint that will be uploaded later, and a question from John Lynch, who wanted to talk about the soul, where it comes from and where it goes to again, and how it all fits together. But Yah will explain what the cross was all about regarding the saints, those that were righteous, who had died before the cross. They had no comforter, and that's where the forgiveness of sins came in. It was retroactive for the righteous who were trapped within their jail cells, if you like. They were the ones who needed the comforter, and they were the ones released at the cross, and is why the eyewitness reports are well recorded of witnessing the graves opening, and then also
Matthew
souls,
27:52,
souls ascending to the heavenly realm.
51, 52,
Which-
53.
Heavenly realm is future. Right, continue.
Now, the ascension was 49 days or 7 weeks after the resurrection. So that thing brings us to a time, which is May the 24th, 25th. And the reason for that is with the conception within Daphne, my mother, in this realm, occurred at the moment of the resurrection, which was April the 5th in Jerusalem, and April the 6th here, because we're ahead of Jerusalem by
8 hours.
8 hours.
Mm.
So, we just round it off, if you like. And the baby, once it was started by the Holy Ghost, what happened then was, in a normal human gestation, you've got a point in time when the embryo changes to a fetus, and then the conception is then calculated to when the blood is in the baby and the heart starts to pump it. Now, the soul is in the blood.
Mm.
So that left 230 days
Remaining in the gestation.
until the baby is born,
So,
pumping on its own blood, so its own soul, if you like.
so that occurs within 7 weeks, like the 49th
7
day
weeks, exactly.
of the beginning of the growth of the body, the vessel being prepared. That's what
So-
it comes down to.
When we talk about the realms within realms, which is the book of Ezekiel, now the Ezekiel book is quite a fascinating account. It's quite rude in places. And what it's talking about, because the name Ezekiel is numbered in the Hebrew concordance at 3168, that's Lord Jesus Christ in Greek, right? So when you take the earth being laid out on the numbers of creation, you were going from the South Pole to my home where I was with Mary Magdalene. She has to come back too, and she's found wanting. She was wanting at the time. She was a pretty nasty piece of work, and she's been elevated to the point of being a saint. Well, she isn't, since she wasn't then, she ain't now. And she is not going to make it into the heavenly realm. She's finished. So I had 13.31 years with her.
No,
13 years with her.
13.13.
Yeah, 13.13. And she ain't going to make it. I mean, I bent over backwards to get that woman to see what I was up about, but she wouldn't do it. She is all self-centered and damaged goods. Now, where she was born, Dundas Street in Preston, in Melbourne, the distance to the South Pole is 3134, which is Maranatha, the coming divine judgment. Now, that didn't impress her either. From the South Pole to that location is her name, 3137, Mary. The number in nautical miles, or miles, is house, and the number in kilometres is the height of the finished pyramid. So therefore it was ordained that I had to go and find this woman. When I come back to Australia in 1996, the first woman that I found was Mary Magdalene, and she was as silly today as she was then. So it's her children that line up with my children. Friar the harlot I had to marry from Lithgow. So you can say, well, let's make it as difficult as possible for me to do the job. So I come back as a man, and a normal man wants to get married, have children, and have a nice life, and that wasn't my fate. I had to do what I had to do. And of course I'm driven by an angel talking to me now and then. Not a lot, but when it happens it's for a very good reason. So I had to be with Mary Magdalene for that point in time. Now that's on a latitude that is 31680 kilometres around the earth, so there's your Lord Jesus Christ again. So I had to do that to accomplish that. Now if I recall that we was talking yesterday, I think it was, and we've mentioned before about the protocols of Zion, number 14, we shall forbid Christ. Well, what they're saying is we shall forbid you finding out Christ is back. That's what the whole thing's about. And they did that quite well. Personally, I don't care one way or the other because it's sorting you all out. I can see what you've all been doing. And if you belong to the Seventh-day Adventist Church or the Catholic Church or the most evil church on the planet is Mormons, any of those churches, they're all evil as can be, and they all are hanging on the words of Moses or their own stupid prophet like Joseph Smith. So what it all means is that you are all back for the judgment, and you have to become like small children. What's that mean is if you were to go to a child from the age of 7 back to the womb, you're innocent. So you have to become like a small child. So in other words, you've got to give up all these stupid religions that you belong to and all this nonsense that you go on about, and become like small children. So the small children are in, right? And if you don't become like a small child, and where it says in the scriptures, forbid them not, suffer the little children not to come unto me. In other words, put up with them, and they've got to come to me. And all the parents, of course, are going to stop. All you children out there, and those who are adults now, who are in churches and so forth, in relationships where your husband or wife dominates the family, or your children, you'll be outcast. As soon as you say, oh look, there's this guy in Australia, I've looked him up and he's saying the truth and I believe it, they're going to virtually stone you in the sense of
Rejecting.
rejection. So that becomes a rejection prophecy. So with the realms within realms, what that means is that in the heavenly realm there's no time, because it's all played out and all thought out before man was. And man was made a little lower than the angels to suffer death. So the angels all know about it, and that's why you get your Lucifer and the demons and all that kind of thing. That are, even in the Catholic Church, they have a hymn to Lucifer, with Christ being the son of Lucifer. That's in the Catholic Church. That was the first hymn that was sung when Francis became elected, and it's quite often been sung. So Benedict knew about it, and all the churches, or rather all of the popes before that and the bishops, they all know about it. So Pope Benedict had a problem. Right? He couldn't overcome the homosexuals and the destructive belief in Lucifer and all that kind of thing, until they showed up and started communicating with him, and he got it. He understood. This goes back to the Shroud of Turin. So he said, I look like the Shroud of Turin, which is true. So what that all means is that the Comforter, which is Matthew 52, 27, 52, 53, 51, 52, 53, is referring to unless you have a Comforter, which is Jesus when he came to the earth, and they slept or were in hell, and they were raised. That is why there was such a shock, especially amongst the Roman soldiers, who really didn't know what was going on. They thought all the Jews were lunatics in here. And once they seen that these saints were walking around, the Romans become convinced, especially Pontius Pilate. And he wrote a beautiful letter to the Roman Senate saying that that's it, our gods have finished. This man is God in the flesh, the Son of God. So, what's it all mean? Well, the ones that were the saints, that is including Isaiah, Ezekiel, all those people, are predicting the coming of the Lord. Daniel, another one. They slept in hell. They had no comforter. So the comforter is what we identify by being taking these 7 verses of the comforter, and you add all the verses up and it gives you the number, which is the same as the area of the larger piece of cloth of the Shroud of Turin. Now, the Shroud of Turin is 2 pieces of cloth, and one was to bind around the head to keep the jaw closed, but because the tomb was owned by a smaller man, Joseph of Arimathea, when the body was placed in the tomb, on the shroud, it was leaning forward like that with the head on the chest, mouth closed. They couldn't wrap the head. And it was getting near 6 o'clock anyhow, which is the beginning of the night, if you like, that the Sabbath, you can't have anything to do with a dead body, entombing and embalming and so forth, for that period of time. So the women had to leave by 6 p.m.
Now, this, of course, was according to the insane laws.
Well, you had to obey it.
Yes.
Because I killed
they had to be obeyed, so...
I simply killed you.
Mm.
So the laws of Moses dictated that God required a blood sacrifice, and the blood sacrifice would be a commercial thing, because you had to get the best lamb you could find, unblemished, and bring it in to the priest. So if you've got committed a sin, then with a ritual they would take the sin out of your soul, out of your blood, and put it into the blood of the sinless lamb, and therefore it would be sacrificed, and God of Moses was so stupid he couldn't see the sin in the lamb's blood. So Jesus becomes the Lamb of God, the last sacrifice of Moses' laws. That's why the Jews today are trying to get the temple built in Jerusalem and start the blood sacrifice again, because they're all idiots, right? We're all of the devil. John 8:44. You are of your father the devil, the murderer from the beginning, Cain, in other words. So the lamb, of course, is brought in as a sacrifice. That's given to the priest and the rabbi, and that's all, and there are probably a few shekels involved as well, because depending on the sin. And they get to have the lamb. So you get 30 people coming in today, you've got to herd a lamb pretty well, that you can sell off the meat. And that's the kind of thing they got into. It was all commercial. So it just goes on and on. So at that point in time, when Jesus is nailed to the cross and then resurrects, now in the meantime, at the death, which is 3 days of life, that was June the 17th, 2 BC, the sunrise to sunset was 855 minutes, and the moonrise was 33 minutes later, so you've got a total of 888. And that can only occur because the moon is sort of hard to deal with, being not completely lined up with the dates. So therefore, if you start calculating when would the sunlight for Bethlehem when Jesus was born be 855 minutes, well, the only time that occurs is once a year. That's June the 17th. But the moon doesn't line up with June the 17th every year, especially rising after sunset 3 minutes later. So you've got 33 minutes plus the 855 gives you what? That gives you 888, so it identifies Jesus. Now, go to the other side of the world in 2,000 years in the future. Australia, of course, it wasn't known then, and the streets and the cities had to be named and laid out, and the surveyors had to do certain things, and by some quirk of miraculous, unrecognised miracles, that the streets were laid out at a certain place with a house built, and the street number was 105, which means eagle or angel, and the distance to the South Pole is the comforter number, 3875. Now, the sunrise to sunset was also 888 minutes, and the moonrise was 33 minutes later. Same problem. You've got to have a latitude, you've got to have a time of year, and you've got to be in a position where that latitude lines up with the sunrise to sunset of 888 minutes, and it's got to be considered to line up with June the 17th, 2 BC in Bethlehem. So, therefore it's a miracle in the sense of the moon and the sun lining up. So you take the Shroud of Turin and you take the length of it, 171 divided by 2, it's 2 pieces of cloth, but you divide by 2 and you got 85.5. That's the 855 minutes. So that gives you the date, that where the sunrise to sunset was 855 minutes. It can only happen on 2 times in 2 locations in history. Right now, Sydney, Australia, 11th of January 1944, and the 17th of June 2 BC in Bethlehem. Okay. So you go on from there. Now I've done other numbers, of course, and the numbers that come out of that will give you square areas and so forth. But it's a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. All the numbers are pertaining to, from the Shroud numbers, gives you the sacrifice of Jesus. So is it a miracle? Of course it is. The miracle is if you understand it or not. That's the miracle. Like getting the people, the masses out there to say, look, this guy's right. I figured all my churches, figured all the bullshit I've been taught. We said bullshit. My God doesn't say bullshit. Yes, I do. And then, well, I'm not your God. That's the whole point. If you don't believe that I can do what I like, you can't. That's the point. I can say what I like, do what I like. You can't. I make the rules. And they're not 10 commandments. That's Moses' laws. It is love God with all your heart, not to love me, and then love each other in the same way. Because you're made in God's image. And if you're made in God's image, you're made in the image of love. And therefore, that's why a little baby starts out with love. So by the time it's 7, you've, in your crazy churches, have brainwashed the poor child into being one of you. So that's the whole point. You've got to become like a small child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Otherwise, nothing left you. Is that it?
You are soul.
Oh yes, we had a series at one time, and we called it "You Are Soul," and you can work it out for yourself.
So, answering John Lynch's question, he asks specifically, where does the soul come from and where does it go?
Well, it's part of me. You're made in God's image, aren't you?
Yes.
Your image, your soul, is my soul, reduplicated in you, which is love. But the soul is love, and then it's corrupted by the churches and everyone else that think they know what they're talking about, and they don't.
And this is why we are in the period of time called the resurrection. It is the second resurrection, if you like, about to face the second.
Everybody, we're talking white people here, and I'm sorry, I'm not offending the Negroes and the Chinamen and anyone else who adopted the religion. The battle is between Lucifer's children and the children of God. And we're talking, first off, we've got to get that right. That's the white race. Then the white race responsibility, once you get that right, then to educate the rest of the world and let them participate in the resurrection. Right? Now, that is full immersion in water or baptism, by the way. So it doesn't matter if you're a Jew or not. I mean, most Jews, once they see what I'm talking about, they convert right away. Right? It's a Jew, is a religion which is not a race. Because the
Jewish religion versus the race that calls themselves Jews.
Like there's people in Israel today, Netanyahu and those kind of monsters, that's the devil right there. Right. Now, Donald Trump, of course his grandmother's maiden name was Christ. So he wants to clean up Germany and reinstore it like it was. Why? Because he is Hitler, reincarnated. Now, he might not like it, he might not know it, he might be listening to me and think, well, if he is, he might think I'm an idiot. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. Point is, you are who you are. You'll wake up sooner or later. Right? Send a jet, Tom.
Now, of course, the most maligned...
There's international airport just up here.
The most maligned personalities in history are, number 1, Jesus, number 2, Hitler, and in modern times, of course, is Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. So the 4 of them have something in common. It's called Made in the Image of God.
Yeah.
And with that,
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. I'll turn off the camera and say later, Gators, and watch for the PowerPoint.
Yeah.